Hey you, welcome back to my vlog channel. So today I thought I would just talk about something pretty random. I have a little black dot on my face. So I recently saw Jaclyn Hill did a ex-boyfriend video where she explained what an asshole her ex-boyfriend was. And I had already considered making this video for this channel because I had an awful ex-boyfriend. And I think that this would be so helpful for girls who are in high school who are dating someone who they don't even realize is such a dick. And maybe it could help you realize that like this person is just not a good person for you and that maybe they should be out of your life, because I wish that I could go back and see this video and talk myself out of that situation. So that is what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about awful ex-boyfriends. Well, I only had one really. Oh my God. Awful is not even the correct word. Like he was the worst person I've ever met in my life. So this happened I want to say my junior year in high school. I was single and I wasn't really ready to date anyone, mainly because, I don't know, boys weren't like the top priority on my list. I had so many other things going on. Boys were just not the priority. My best friend had a sister and she was a senior in high school when we were juniors, I believe. And she had senior friends. And so I don't know how he ever saw me, because I don't ever remember seeing him, like ever once in any place in that school. And but somehow he saw me. So I want to say, because this happened so long ago, and to be honest, like I've tried to erase every single memory of him out of my mind. Like I've tried so hard. Like for me, like part of him lingers a little bit, just as a reminder of how shitty people can be and how appreciative I need to be. But other than that, like I try so hard to erase every little detail about him. I think how it happened was that my best friend told me that there was this boy that was friends with her sister and that he wanted to talk to me. And I was like, well, who is this person? And she was like, well, I don't think you've ever seen him. He's a senior. And that right off the bat, I was like, oh, senior boy, like, wow, you know? And that was the first hint that maybe I shouldn't be messing with this person. But anyways, so I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I guess I'll talk to him. Like at that time, I didn't think very much of it. So honestly, I don't even know how it happened. I think we were just walking down the hallway one day and he was coming up, and this is like the first time I think I ever saw him, and the dude was huge. I mean, we're talking over 6 feet. He was over 200 pounds, and not like big, but like buff. And this dude was just like massive, and I'm not that tall. I'm only like 5'4", and at the time I only weighed like maybe 170. I mean, I wasn't a small girl, but I wasn't like huge either. So to me, he was like a freaking giant. And I was just like, whoa, is this him? And she was just like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, oh God, I don't know. Like when I first saw him, like I just didn't, like I clicked, but I didn't. Like he wasn't somebody that I would ever like be interested in. Like if I just saw him walking down the hallway one day, I probably just wouldn't have even really paid attention to him. It just so happened that that day, I guess because in my mind I knew somebody was trying to talk to me, I kind of realized and kind of paid attention to him. So all I remember from that first meeting with him is just like he was so charismatic. Like he was so nice. I mean, sugar held nothing to him. Like he was just like the sweetest thing in the world, and he was so smooth, like literally so smooth with every word he said, everything he ever told me, super duper smooth. And he literally swept me off my feet. Like I had, at that point, not really met anybody like him. Like, all the boys that I had been interested before that were really shy and reserved, and they weren't very outgoing, and he was completely opposite of anybody I had ever been interested in. He was a football player. He knew a ton of people. He knew everybody that I knew, and if he didn't know them, he made friends with them. So he quickly absorbed himself into my life, so much so that I didn't realize that he pretty much pushed everybody out. And so it happened so fast. And the craziest part to me is, like, in high school, I was like the most confident person ever. Like, in myself, I just knew I was the shiznit. Not that to say, like, I was like, oh my God, I'm so popular, oh my God. But I was confident in myself. Like, I knew who I was. I didn't take shit from anybody. I was myself. Like, that's all I knew. Soon after we started talking, like maybe a month after, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yes. And the first couple weeks, it was amazing. Like, he was so nice to me. He would wait for me every morning in a special, like, not special, but in a particular hallway, and then we would go and sit and talk in this stairwell, and we would just talk, and he would just ask me, like, oh, how are you doing? Like, what do you have to do today? You know, super sweet, like, honestly, just the sweetest thing in the world. And every day it was the same thing. I had to meet him first and talk to him and just hang out with him, and then he would walk me to every single one of my classes. Like, literally, I never realized this until after. Once I started dating him, I could never be away from him because he was everywhere. I mean, sometimes he would walk by when I was in class. Like, he was just always there. And at the time, I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like, he's so cute. Like, he's always interested in what I'm doing. And that wasn't the case. What he was trying to do is to make sure that I wasn't talking to anybody else, or to make sure that I was where I was supposed to be. I mean, he was just like always checking up on me, like always. It was, now looking back, I don't know how I didn't realize it. I guess because I hadn't had any experiences before him, so I didn't realize what was happening at the time. Soon after we started dating, the sweetness started to wear off, and it became passive aggressiveness. So I remember so vividly, because that was the first time I ever felt bad about myself. Like, that is the first time that I can remember him making me feel less than. We were sitting in the hallway on the stairwell, like every other morning, and we were talking, and out of nowhere, he's like, oh, you didn't do your makeup today? And I was like, no, I didn't. I just woke up late. I just didn't feel like it. Because at that point, every day since we had started talking, like, I wore makeup every day, fixed my hair every day. I, wore like my best clothes every day since we started dating. And that day, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. And so I remember him saying, well, I think you should wake up 5 minutes earlier because you just look nicer that way. Like, you just look more put together. Like, you need to make an effort. And I was like, what? Like, in my head, I just remember thinking, like, is he being serious right now? And he's like, because we're dating, like, everybody looks at us, so you need to look right. And I was like, what the fuck? So that was just the beginning of many things that he tried to change about me. And I never really realized how involved he was in my life, how much control he was taking. I remember a time where I was going to basketball practice, I feel, and he asked me for my phone, and I was like, well, where's your phone? And he told me, I don't know where he told me his phone was. And I was like, well, okay. And so I gave him my phone, and he was like, oh, and can I borrow your car keys? And I was like, what do you need my car keys for? And he was like, oh, I'm just gonna go around the corner. And I was like, well, like, hope to God my dad never sees this video, but he was just like, well, I just need to go around the corner. I need to go with such and such and grab something. And I was like, my dad had given me that car, and I was scared to death of my dad during high school. So I was like, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. He was like, come on, it's me. You can trust me. Come on, give me your keys. And I was like, okay, fine. So I gave him my keys and I gave him my phone because he had tricked me and talked me into it. Like, he was such a master manipulator. Like, he manipulated the shit out of me. So I gave him my stuff. He left, and then he came back and he gave me my car keys. That he did give me. And then he wouldn't give me my phone. And I was like, well, where's my phone? And he told me, well, I'm using it. And I was like, well, I kind of need my phone back. And he was like, well, you know, I'm expecting something. And I was like, well, I'll just call you later and I'll tell you what happened. Because at that point, I think I was trying to go home and I needed my phone to go home, but he wouldn't give me my phone. And I was like, I really need it. I need to go home. And eventually, like, after, I mean, I think it took 30 minutes for him to give me my phone. I guess the whole time he was like waiting for this person to reply to him. And so I just grabbed my phone and I was like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Like, when I get home, I'll call you, because that was our thing. Like, every day when I got home, he wanted me to call him. So I went home. I started going through my phone to see if I had missed any messages while, you know. And lo and behold, he had all these text messages from all different kinds of people. I mean, he texted more than I did on my phone. And then more than anything, he had like some suspicious girls texting him. And I was just like, the hell's going on? And so I remember calling him and I was telling him, I was like, why are you texting these girls on my phone? Like, that's kind of shady. And he was like, well, you know, they're just my friends and you need to stop. Like, you're making a big deal. It's not that big a deal. Like, it's really not that serious that you're making it. And, you know, I'm allowed to have friends and blah, blah, blah. And I remember he blew it up to like a whole out of this world proportion. He was so dramatic and he was so manipulative. Like, so manipulative. I remember like telling him like, okay, well, it's fine. Like, I was just asking you, like, and he was like, well, I'm just telling you, like, you need to trust me and blah, 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 blah. And I remember him just like always, like, if we ever got in an argument, I don't know how in the world he would do it, but he would switch it to where everything was always my fault. Everything, every little fight we ever had was always my fault. If he did something wrong, I would somehow always end up apologizing to him for messing up, for questioning him, for whatever the case may be, for making him feel bad, whatever. It was always me apologizing to him. And I mean, I don't know how that happened. And so eventually, like, that stuff started to take a toll in who I was and how I acted. Like, it really changed who I was. I remember I would stop hanging out with my friends just to hang out with him, because that's all he ever wanted me to do, is just to spend all of my time with him. And I don't know how he did it, but I fell for him so deeply, and makes me sick to my stomach now to think that I ever did care for him that way. Makes me sick to my stomach. I mean, this went on for months and months and months and months and months and months. He was so controlling. He was so overbearing in my life, and I didn't know. And so then we're gonna skip forward. He had already started to like create some doubt in my self-esteem. He had already really just changed who I was. I was so different when I was with him, in the sense that I didn't care about anything else, only him. I always felt guilty about something because of him. I always felt so out of place when I was with him. Then, I mean, it got really bad to the point where like he even had his best friend always following me around. Like, if he couldn't, his best friend would always be there every day. It was awful. And then I feel like that is when I started to realize what was happening, is like when his best friend started to get involved, and I was just like, this is getting kind of serious. Like, this is a bit much. And I don't know what he did to like snap me back into him, but he did something. I think he gave me a ring. I think that's what he did. He gave me like this little tiny little ring, and it was so cute. It was like a little diamond heart, and it was like the smallest diamond you could ever think of. And he gave it to me, and I think that's what like kind of caught me back into him, was that he was telling me that he loved me, he wanted to be with me forever, he didn't want anybody else. He just, you know, every imaginable thing that you could tell a girl to make her believe that you really love her. And so I was just like, okay, I'll stay. And then I don't even think it had been a month after that happened, that he gave me the ring, that he ended up getting in trouble. And he ended up in jail. And I remember it happened over the weekend, and I kept calling and calling and calling him, and he wouldn't answer, and he wouldn't answer, he wouldn't answer. And I was just getting really frustrated, because at this point, like, he was my whole world. So if he wasn't involved and I didn't know what was happening, like, I didn't know what to do with myself. And so the weekend passed, here comes Monday, and no, I think it was like Tuesday, because like, I went to school. I looked for him frantically everywhere, couldn't find him, asked everybody he knew, nobody knew where he was. And his best friend wasn't in school either. And so I was just like, what the hell is going on? And so then I think it was a Tuesday, I was in my art class, and he just waltzes on in, because he was friends with my art teacher, and he was just like talking to her, and then eventually he came up to me and he was like, hey. And I was like, what do you mean, hey? Like, where the hell have you been? Like, why haven't you returned my calls? Like, what is going on? And you know, I was mad, and he just wasn't having it. Like, he just was not about to have somebody talk back to him. So he freaking, I just remember he like was like, you know what, if you're gonna act like this, I don't want to talk to you. And he like walked out without explaining anything to me, without saying anything to me. He like walked out, and I was like, what the fuck? And so I was really mad. So I like chased after him, and I was like, why are you gonna walk away from me? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're the one that did this, and why are you doing that? And blah blah blah. And he was like, at this point, I mean, he's like, he towers over me a good foot. So he was like walking, and I was like running behind him, and I finally catch up to him. And I just remember I grabbed his arm, shoulder to like talk to him. I went like this, and he freaking turned around and boom, slapped the crap out of my hand. And I had enough at that point. I was like, no, he fucking didn't lay a hand on me. So I turn around and I'm like, fuck this. And I turn around and I start to walk away, and he's like, no, baby, sorry. He just kept saying sorry. And I was like, I don't need your sorries. Like, you just hit me, don't come near me. And his smooth talking ways, I don't even know how he did it, but he was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, it was just your hand was in my way, and I turned around, and I didn't mean it, like toss my hand like that, like I did not mean to do that, blah 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 blah. And somehow he convinced me that he didn't swipe his hand at me. Like, he just convinced me that he didn't just fucking throw his hand up, almost slapping me. He slapped my hand, and if I hadn't had my hand there, he probably would have slapped me right in the face. And I was just like, whatever. Like, I let it go. For whatever reason, I let it go. And so he explained to me, actually he didn't really explain it to me. I, to this day, don't know what he went to jail for. And then weeks went by, and then it was like November, and it was time for us to go on our holiday break. And usually me and my family, we go to California like every couple breaks, or like, you know, a school break, like we would go to California because that's where all of our family is. And so I remember I was getting ready to leave, and he was like, no, you can't leave me, no, you can't go, because I have court coming up, like I really need you, like you need to talk to your dad, you need to tell him that you need to stay, like you can't go. And he was like making this humongous deal because he had to go to court. And I was like, I can't tell my dad that I need to stay for you. Like, I can't. Like, I was a high school child. Like, I couldn't do that. And so he was just like, no, I really need you to stay. And I was like, I can't. And so even up to the last day that before we had to leave, he was still calling me like, no, tell your dad, tell your dad. I was like, I can't do that. So I left and he didn't talk to me. Like, he wouldn't answer my calls. Like, I texted like crazy. I called him like crazy. Would not take one of my calls. And it made me feel so shitty. I remember that Thanksgiving, I was so sad. I was so sad because he had become my everything and he had just like shut me out and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And so then when I got back from the break, I don't know who told me. I don't know how I found out. I don't know if she contacted me or somebody told me. I don't remember how it happened. But I found out he had cheated on me. And I was like, what the hell does that even mean? And he was, I think at that point he had actually gone to jail. Like, after the whatever happened during the break, like, he had to go to jail. So it wasn't like I could even confront him about what he had done. So I think my best friend told me, I think that's how it happened, or that girl contacted me. One of their two things happened, because I don't remember. Because I remember I did call him once and he answered during the break. And now that I'm thinking about it, he did answer once, and actually it wasn't even him. Like, I had been calling his phone, and somebody answered the phone and it was a girl. And I was like, well, who is this? And then she was like, well, who is this? And I was like, his girlfriend. Who are you? And she was just like, well, he's busy right now, so he'll just have to call you back. And I was like, busy with what? With who? And he's like, well, he's in the back with my cousin, so he's pretty busy, so he'll just have to call you back. And I was like, what the hell? Like, who are you? What the hell's going on? So then, not like minutes after, he called me back, like a couple, I want to say like maybe 2 minutes, he called me back. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, who are you with? Who answered your phone? And I was like going crazy because it's like, who is this? And he was just like, what are you talking about? Like, that's my cousin. Like, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Like, you're just being crazy, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just remember, again, him turning the tables and, like, making it as, like, I was a crazy one. And I was just like, I remember after hanging up with him after that phone call, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I shouldn't have gone off on him. Like, I apologize. Everything was my fault again. So anyways, after the break, you know, that never happened again during the break because he never answered the phone after that. And then, like, after the break, that's whenever I found out that he had cheated on me. And I remember there were these pictures of him with this girl, and I saw the pictures. Somebody showed me the pictures, and that girl looked like my twin. I kid you not. She looked exactly like me. Like, if somebody put the pictures of us together, like, you would not be able to tell the difference. Like, that girl was like my exact copy, except for she was 14. At this point, he was like 17, close to being 18. And I just remember thinking, like, why would he do that to me? Like, she's only a little girl. Because at this point, I was like 16, turning 17. And I was just like, why would he do that to me? Like, why? Like, and more than anything, she looks exactly like me. Like, why would he do that? And I remember just freaking out, and I wanted to throw the stupid ring he had given me. And my best friend was like, no, you can't do that. Like, you just need to hear him out. Like, you just need to find out what's happening. Because my best friend in high school, she was such a believer in love. Like, she just wanted to be in love, and she wanted everybody that she knew to be in love. Like, she just was in love with love. So she just wanted everybody to be happy. And so I remember her, like, telling me, like, no, you just have to give him a chance. Like, he needs to explain himself. Like, it might not be what you think it is. Like, maybe that girl's just making stuff up. And I was like, there's pictures. Like, there's literally pictures of them together. Like, what else could honestly, like, what else could he say? So then he ended up, I think, calling me from jail. And he told me he was going to get out in a couple days. and that he was going to explain everything to me. So I was like, okay. So I waited, and he got out of jail. And I remember him telling me like, oh, that girl meant nothing to him. Like, he just went to hang out with some friends and she was there and she took all these pictures of him. He didn't know, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. And his smooth talking way is just, I was like, okay, all right, I believe you. Anyways, so then he kept telling me like, well, I'm gonna have to go back to court because they're still fighting this case, and I still had no idea what the case was. And I was just like, okay, I guess, like, he was like, can you please stay with me through all this? Like, please stay with me. Because at this point I was like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And he was like, no, please stay with me. Like, I need you. You're my everything. You're my rock. You make everything better, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I couldn't leave him. Like, there was something that we were just like, so, like, he just had me by every fiber of my being. Like, he had controlled everything. And I was just like, okay, I'll stay. And in my back of my head, I was like, I'm not gonna stay with this dude. But my heart kept going back to him. Like, my head kept saying, leave him. My heart kept saying, stay. So I ended up staying. And so while he was waiting for his, like, I think they were going to sentence him, like, how much time he needed to complete. He was out of jail, and he wasn't allowed to go to school. He was like suspended from school. So his best friend was there though, and his best friend was everywhere I went. Like, it was like I was dating him. And I remember, this is like the worst part of him being him, and this is honestly the worst thing he ever did to me. I feel like even the cheating, I could get over the cheating, but this is what he did to me, and I will never forgive him for this. I was a virgin in high school. I was a virgin until I was like 19. I was a virgin. I believed in being a virgin until marriage, or until finding the person that you were going to spend the rest of your life with. That is what I believed in high school. And I remember while he was waiting for his, for his time to be given to him, I remember his best friend pulling me aside one day, and he's like, yo, like, my friend, he's gonna go to jail, and he's, he needs to know that you really love him. He needs to know that you really are gonna be there for him. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was just like, well, you need to show him that you love him. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. Like, I show him every day. Like, I'm with him every day. I talk to him every day. Like, what do you mean? And he was just like, you need to show him, like, how much you love him. And I was like, you mean like that? And he was just like, yeah, like that's, yeah, like that would be the way to show him. And I was just like, I mean, I'll think about it. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I'll do that. And he was just like, well, if you really love him, you'll show him. And I was just like, okay. And he was like, because he really loves you. He tells me every day that he really loves you and he wants to be with you forever. And so he just wants you to show him that you love him. I mean, I was 16, 17 at this time. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go to my parents to talk to them about this because my parents were like super strict. So, and my best friend, like, we didn't talk about stuff like that. Like, we just didn't. Like, it was not something we talked about. And so I didn't have anybody to turn to, and I kept thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Like, no, like, if he loves me, he'll wait. And I'm worth waiting for. And that is the smartest thing I ever did with that guy. Like, it's like the only thing that I freaking did that I did was okay. I mean, he was trying to manipulate me through his best friend to have sex with him. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, he was so fucking crazy. Like, he was psychotic. Well, he ended up going to jail. And while he was in jail, that girl contacted me, the girl he had cheated on me with. And she was like, well, your boyfriend is like calling me at my house. He's sending me letters. And I was like, what the fuck? Because at this point he was calling me and sending me letters, and I mean, my allowance, I was giving it to his mom to put in his books. That's how crazy I was. He would just tell me like, oh, you know, like, you need to, if you want me to call you, you just have to give me a little bit of money, because my mom can't give me all this money to call you. Like, she only gives me enough to call her, so I can't call you. And so yeah, so when that girl contacted me, she was like, oh, well, he's calling me, he's doing all this. I was just like, okay, that's just enough. Like, I'm done. I'm so done with him. So I remember he called me and I told him like, yo, like, we're done. Like, we are not together anymore. Like, my boyfriend's here. This is gonna be awkward because he's never heard this story. But anyway, so I remember him telling me like, we're done. Like, we aren't, you know, I remember calling him, or he called me, and I was just like, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm done. And he was like, no, like, we can't be done. Like, I need you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you need her. And so I just remember I hung up on him. And then not long after, his mom called me. Sorry, my dogs are gonna be barking for a little bit. His mom called me and she was like, no, you can't leave him. Like, he needs you, he loves you. This girl's full of crap. Like, you know, she doesn't mean anything to him. He told me what happened and she's nothing to him. Like, she's making stuff up. He was getting his mom to manipulate me, or his mom was manipulating me for him. Like, those two people were just made for each other. Like, him and his mom were made for each other. They were both passive aggressive. They were both terrible people. And so she was like, no, you have to stay with him. You have to stay with him. He loves you. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, you know what he's done to me. Like, you know he cheated on me. You know he's mean to me. Like, he's been mean to me in front of you. Like, he's done things. And she was like, yeah, but he really loves you. You just have to stay. Like, at least give him one more chance. And at this point, I had given him like 5 chances. Like, he had made me look like a fool in front of my friends. He had made me look like a fool in front of his mom. Like, he had been so awful to me. And so at this point, I had given him plenty of chances, not to mention all the times that he had used my phone to text other girls. Like, I mean, I had given this dude plenty of chances, and I was like, no, I'm done. And she's like, please just talk to him. And so I was like, fine, he can call me one last time, we can talk, we'll see. So he calls me and I tell him, just to make him happy, like, okay, we can be together. But in my head, I wasn't with him. Like, in my head, we were over. I was just telling him that so that he would kind of let me go. He didn't. So eventually he got out. So when that happened, I told him it was over. Like, I didn't want to be with him anymore. And at that point, he had already been out of high school and I was still in my senior year. And he would like go to the school and like try to talk to me, and I'd be like, no, I want nothing to do with you. And it would get so bad that he would actually even go to my house, and my dad didn't even know about him. So it was just like he would work my nerves, because I was so afraid of my dad's reaction, because he would go with his friends, so it just looked like a group of people came to visit me. But still, like, I didn't want him at my house. I didn't want anything to do with him at that point. And he just wouldn't take no for an answer. He was unrelentless. Like, he was just, it wasn't that he loved me. It was just that he needed to control someone. And he still felt like he could continue to control me. But at that point, I was like, honey, no more. And he just didn't want to understand that. He didn't want to believe that. So, like I said, he just wouldn't like take no for an answer. Like, it was just not something that he was understanding. So it took months and months, and he even got his, like, some of my closest friends to talk to me and be like, well, just give him one more chance. Like, he really wants you. He wants to be with you. Like, you're all he talks about. Like, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, everyone that he knew that we knew, like, he would just make them tell me like, oh, he called and he wants to talk to you. He wants you to call him. I mean, this happened for almost a good year after we separated. And he wouldn't stop. Eventually I went to college. Like, I completely left the city, and he would still like call me and he would get my number from my friend, and I would tell her, don't give him my number. Like, I switched my number like 3 times, and she would still give him my number. And I was like, you know, if you don't stop doing that crap, like, we can no longer be friends. And she was like, well, he's just so convincing. And I mean, he was. Like, he was just like the most manipulative person that I've ever met in my life. Like, he would talk anyone into anything. Like I said, he's like the worst person I've ever met in my life. Seriously, the worst. And if I could go back and tell myself, run the other way, I would. Because long after we broke up, like, my self-esteem took a long time for it to be back to where I was, for me to be confident again. It took forever. It took almost 2 years for me to be myself again. Like, I didn't want to be with anybody. I didn't want to have a boyfriend. I didn't want anything to do with anything, honestly. He had broken me so awful that I didn't want to do anything. And I didn't want to be with anybody. Like, any guy that tried to talk to me, I'd be like, no, like, just stop. Like, no. And now looking back, if I could tell myself something, it would be run. No, seriously though. If I could go back and tell myself something, it would be to listen to your brain. Don't listen to your heart. Sometimes your brain is actually the one making sense. As hard as it is to believe, your heart sometimes is not reliable. So that's the one thing I would tell myself. Like, use your common sense. Like, use your, like, if you have a feeling inside telling you, like, this is not a good idea, maybe you should call it quits, listen to that. Like, there's a reason why that's happening. There's a reason why these red flags are going off in your brain. Listen to yourself. Sometimes when other people are trying to tell you something, you don't want to hear it. But if your own being is telling you, like, hey, you need to quit this, like, you need to stop this, stop immediately. Some people are just not meant to be in our lives forever. Some people are just meant to be seasons. They're not meant to be here forever. So just remember that if you're going through a tough relationship and you just don't see a way out, there is a way out. You can walk away. You can stop. You can be better, because you deserve better. Everybody deserves better than someone who doesn't love them, who doesn't really care for them. Like, you deserve better than that. And I'm not just talking about girls, I'm talking about guys. Sometimes there are women out there who are terrible and don't want anything good for you. Sometimes, I mean, it could be anybody. And you just have to, my cat is crying. You just have to put yourself first. If you're going through a relationship like that, you have to put yourself first, because in the end, when the relationship ends, you're stuck with yourself. So you have to work on yourself. And if somebody is not working out for you, it may hurt for a while. It may be really hard to be without them for a while, but you can do it. Like, you can be without them. Like, it'll be okay. Like, you'll survive. You will find someone much better and you'll be happy. You just have to let go. Or you don't have to be with anybody. You can just make yourself happy. That is the most important thing you have to learn, is that you can make yourself happy. You can be happy. You don't need someone else to do that for you. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this super long, crazy video, but I felt like it was something that, I feel like it's another one of those life experiences that somebody can learn from. So if you have someone who's super charismatic, super nice, and then out of nowhere turns to be something else, they're showing you their true colors. Don't stick around to find the rest of it. Just walk away, run. So, but yeah, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to be safe and be you. So until next time, I'll talk to you guys all very soon. Bye.